Hi, welcome to Yo Soy Magazine. We're down at the beautiful CMAC building on the corner of Calaveras and Van Ness. And today we have Mr. Pugh, Jason
Pugh.
Jim Pugh.
Alex Pugh.
Okay. This is a family business. This is a family that's stuck together through many ups and downs. Your family's been here in Fresno, California for...
Generations, multiple generations.
Since about moved from back east here?
My grandfather moved from Arkansas in sometime before 1930 to out in Selma, California, and started a ranch out there. Yeah.
And they came. She said she worked out in the fields, the grape fields and whatnot. So she must have been out there picking grapes.
Yep, grapes, cotton, anything that was in the season at the time.
Yeah, we did our farming a lot different back then than what they do now.
True family farm.
Now, how many acres did he run?
At one time, he and his brother had 240 acres that they worked with 2 teams of horses.
Really?
Yeah.
And they were using horses to till the soil?
Yeah.
Oh my goodness. Talk about hard workers.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what, 4 in the morning till you drop? Pretty much?
Pretty much.
Yeah, okay. And so...
No, they met in Arkansas, and married there, and were married for near 70 years.
Okay, and then you...
My son, Alex, is my brother's son, which would make him my nephew.
Jason.
Alex, Jason, sorry. Yeah.
Okay, and I know, business is called Energy Concepts. I met them a month ago or so.
Yeah, you were at our grand opening event. We were putting everything together for our new showroom in Clovis on the southwest corner of Lord Minnewawa.
Right. Yeah, I recorded all of that. You did great. I'm going to put it together with this interview. Family businesses that people really don't know that we've had here in Fresno, Central California for many, many years. I mean, Energy Concepts.
Origination of Energy Concepts came about when my good friend Pat Connolly, who he and I became very good friends when I moved in across the street from him, and that was in 1991. And I was a telephone technician and a computer technician and an electrician. So we worked together in an informal way. Working on each other's homes and things like that, and the friendship persisted. When I started working with him full-time as in the solar field. Been part-time since about 1991. Yeah. Well, before the solar electric boom that we're all experiencing now really took off, solar was a way to heat water either in your swimming pool or going into your hot water system for your house to take your showers and wash your clothes and things like that. So at one point in the early 80s, there were 27 solar companies represented in Fresno in the Yellow Pages.
Really?
Yeah. And of those companies, the original company morphed into Energy Concepts in 1992, and that was mostly servicing the old, there were 17 different manufacturers of solar hot water heating systems, and we became the service center because all the others went out of business, and we're the only surviving company from the 70s that has a continuity of business in the solar field. But for years it was pretty dry and lean times. It was a service-only business until the solar electric boom started kicking off in really right before White.
It was an election year, and they decided that all these banks were too large to fail. And one of the caveats, in order to get some of the senators in line to vote for the stimulus bill, was to remove the $2,000 cap on the federal tax credit for residential customers. Prior to that, any business that went solar would get a 30% tax break, but if you were either subject to the alternative minimum tax or if you were a residential homeowner, you were capped at the $2,000 30% federal tax limit or credit. So really, I mean, we don't install solar systems that are $6,000, $7,000. So everyone was leaving so much money on the table. What really led to, I think, a really big expansion was the lifting of the cap. Prior to that, we'd already had utility rebates with PG&E, SoCal Edison, and other utilities throughout the state. But utility rebates were designed to be in decline to help spur investment into solar when solar panels were way more expensive than they are now. So what happened was the original design of the tax or the utility rebates was very high to help decrease the cost of going solar, and then it had specific step downs ultimately until it went away. And the idea was to spur innovation and also to get more manufacturers online, because there were so few manufacturers and so little product availability that we were really struggling with just getting parts.
Oh.
I mean, you'd sell a job and then you'd have to hope that you could get material, and we were literally at the mercy of suppliers and manufacturers.
So they were importing.
Yeah, oh yeah, all kinds of stuff was being imported. Very little stateside manufacturing happening back then.
So do we have manufacturers in Fresno now?
No, no one's manufacturing solar panels in Fresno, to my
No.
knowledge. No, no. We have some manufacturing going on in the U.S. in a few different states, but I mean, it's very much a global market when it comes to that stuff. So, but yeah, the tax credit or the removal of the cap and still having some rebates available at the time really led to one of the biggest booms in the solar industry, even though we were heading into one of the most difficult financial periods in my adult lifetime, because I'm 41. So I had never personally seen, you know, financial devastation like I had seen in the mid 2000s. It was terrible.
It was terrible, right.
And it was stuff that, you know, you'd read about when you were younger.
This is a tough business, and your family seems to keep it together. What do you say about that?
Well, we run a very efficient operation, and we have employees that are very dedicated and loyal and extremely hardworking. I probably have the best employees I could imagine a company having that work with us. There's not a one of them that I don't absolutely love.
Okay.
Yeah.
Great.
When I was doing the early days of it, you know, learning more of the solar business as a business rather than the technical part, because I tend to be very technical because of my background in electrical and computers and telephones and all that.
Right.
So I was learning the rest of the business back in 2004 when I joined my partner, and then at that time, Alex was actually beginning some of the actual installations themselves.
So what, you're doing installing still, or what else?
No, I'm the operations manager. So I've seen, since I've been doing this, you know, for about 10 years or so now, I've seen all aspects of, you know, of the business and everything. You know, everything happens to plan, and if it doesn't, I solve all the problems and make sure that it does.
Okay, so
You know.
technical operations.
Mm-hmm.
And
Sales.
the salesperson here.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
And we also do additional work in Bakersfield and on the Central Coast. But if it's within an hour, I'm going to it. I'm our general sales manager. I have a couple of consultants that actually work with us that I manage. So primarily now I've been doing this as my 11th year. I typically meet mostly with my referral business from our customers of times gone by, and I really help to manage the other guys. There's no way in the world that with as much as we're installing, I could have the bandwidth to meet with as many clients that want to meet with us.
How many are you installing a day?
Alex, we're in the neighborhood of what?
Yeah,
3 to
we're
4.
installing.
Wow, that's impressive. And
Yeah.
this is a great place to have that. Saves dollars, doesn't it?
Most competitive market space in the country. We're the #1 adopters of solar per capita in the United States. So in the greater Fresno market, and Bakersfield is actually #2. Watts of solar installed per household is #1 and 2 in the nation. And we have been that way for about a decade now.
So give us a kind of an idea. Say I have a 1,500 square foot house, and I go to you and you put in solar. I'm going to convert from, what, 10 cents per kilowatt to 1 cent? Or how does that
No.
work? 1 cent? Or how does that
No.
work?
No, the concept's about right, but really it depends on how you do it, and it's such a loaded question because square footage has.
Oh, sorry.
No, and it's fine. I've heard this question at least 1,000 times since I've been doing this, so
Okay.
I'm absolutely prepared for it. When you equate the square footage of a home to what am I going to spend, realistically, the square footage of your home is nothing more than a limiting factor on how much roof I have to work with, because your behavior dictates how much solar you need. The rate schedule that you're on will dictate what kind of a rate of return that you're going to receive. So there are so many moving variables. You know, PG&E's baseline cost per kilowatt hour 11 years ago was about 11 cents a kilowatt hour. And now the base, and I think that it went up to like 13. If you were real wasteful, they really hit you up to 13 cents. And really, without using too much jargon, a kilowatt hour is nothing more than a unit of power, like a gallon of milk or a gallon of gasoline. It's a commodity that we buy. And so, you know, there was a set price for the commodity, and the public utilities, the PUC, they held the baselines low because they believed that, you know, everybody has to pay the baseline, and folks that had fallen on hard times or were low income would be given expanded baselines and discounts. So they didn't want to mess with the base rate because they felt like they'd really catch a lot of heat for really punishing those of us who could afford the increases the least. And a lot of that has changed over time. Now the base rate is about 21 cents and some change, and then they kick it on up to about 28. And then if you happen to be what they call a super user, which, you know, they should give you a cape and a plaque for being such a great customer. Instead, they punish you and they kick you on up to about 42 cents per kilowatt hour or per power unit. And so it's very punitive. It's very similar to as if you were to earn some money this year, more than last year, and now you're in a new tax bracket. And so they're just dropping the hammer on you for using more and more energy. They're penalizing you to try to get you back down into the lower bracket. But yet they've almost doubled it in the last 11 years.
So they're considering you as wasteful.
Correct. So in the end, what we do is we provide relief, and really we're creating power plans for folks, and everybody's plan is going to be different. So you may not have a tax appetite, meaning that at the end of the year you get all your money back. Well, if that's the case, then we have really killer power plant options that will allow you to get really cheap energy, way cheaper than the utility company, with no cost out of pocket, where we manage and maintain your system for you. You may have a huge appetite, pay lots of taxes, be an awesome taxpayer, and have cash sitting on the sidelines. Well, that's a different story. That's where you're going to probably opt to write a check. This time next year, you're getting 30% of that money back, assuming you got the tax appetite, and the rate of return on your investment, which is really what you're focusing on if you're buying a solar system as an investment, is typically 4 to 6 years. Which, when you think about that, that's about a 17 to 25% rate of return on your money, and you don't get that in the market. And then the third rung is folks that they want to own it, they could use the tax credit, they don't have piles of money sitting around. We have great loan options where you're literally cash positive day one. I mean, if you have a $300 electric bill, you can take a loan term anywhere from, say, $125 a month on up to, say, about $200 a month, but you're still saving money immediately. And the loan term that you choose will really dictate the payment that you receive, and all of it is less money than you give the utility company. So we call that spending your anyway money. You're giving it to them anyway.
Right.
Invest in your home, own your power. When you pay it off, it's done. And in the end, the idea is to get that bill off of your back.
So does that really get us off the grid part of it?
No. There's no such thing as off the grid, really.
Okay.
So you lose so many benefits, and it sounds so good, right? Oh, I'm going to just cut the cord like the cable company, and I'm going to watch YouTube videos,
We all
and
want to cut the cord.
everybody would love to. But the reality is, we have this beautiful benefit called net energy metering, and it's the ability to spin this meter backwards, and you pay $10 a month for having a meter on your house, whether you have solar or not. So the beauty of this, and why you don't have to buy batteries and have backup generation systems that just cost astronomical amounts of money, is because you can spin your meter backwards during the daytime and take your excess power and bank it as a credit on your account. That means at nighttime, when you're consuming power and the sun isn't shining, you're taking this energy back and you're reusing it. So the utility company gets the benefit of not having to distribute so much energy to not only not have to cover your home, but in many cases it reduces the load or the strain on the grid to power some of your neighbors' homes too. It's beneficial for both. Then at night, when they have significantly more power available on the grid than they have demand, you happen to use more, they bill you for it. If you still don't happen to use all of it, you'll roll a credit over to the next month. And so you go on an annual billing cycle with the utility company so that once a year you're going to pay for whatever power you used above and beyond your solar's net production. And that's all stuff that we really like to sit down and drill down with the homeowner, because everybody's lifestyle is different. It all goes back to the, hey, I've had a 1,500 square foot house, how much? I don't know. I've got to get a good hard look at what you're using for energy. And once I know what your behavior looks like, and then also what are your intentions once you go solar. I know folks that'll go solar and they'll use 40% more power because all of a sudden they want to run their air conditioning. We need to know that at the beginning. If I know that when we start, we're not going to leave you in a position to have a big old true-up bill at the end of the year. If you decide at the end, after you've gone solar, hey, we're going to really go for it and just enjoy ourselves, if you change your behavior, it's going to tell on you when it comes time to pay that bill at the end of the year, and there's not a thing we can do about it because we're literally planning your system size based on modeling it after your behavior and what you're planning on doing going forward.
Okay. So when you talk to people, you want to really, you don't want to get into their business, but you really need to know what is their intention.
Future. Are the kids leaving? Are the kids staying? You know, are we going to run some more air conditioning, get in a pool, grabbing a hot tub, electric cars? That's the important stuff that we have to touch on.
Right.
And then it also comes down to talking about long-term planning. How long are you going to live in this house? You know, have you thought about warranties, equipment selection? All that stuff comes into play.
Okay.
So it's really important to sit down and actually have a real discussion with someone who does what I do for a living, rather than poke around on the internet and just shop price and you have no idea what you're really, the core of everything that we do is based on what kind of power consumption do you already have, and then what kind of increases are possible based on changes that you're planning on making in lifestyle, getting a pool, any of those big items that you're going to take on. Or, you know, I've had some folks give me their usage and say, hey, what's it going to take? And then I find out they've got 30-year-old air conditioning units they're planning on replacing. And well, hold on, you don't need all this solar then. We need to take a step back and figure out what your SEER rating on your air conditioner. Or, hey, your attic insulation is 4 inches thick and it should be about 14 inches thick. Why don't we take a hard look at, you know, spending on a 1,500 square foot house, let's spend $1,600 blowing in attic insulation and reduce your solar system price by $5,000 bucks.
Okay. So you're going in there and actually review,
These are
evaluating all of the inferences and the.
thing that we can help you do is tighten up your home so that you don't have to buy as much solar as it would take. If we were just looking to sell the biggest system, we wouldn't ask all the questions that we ask to make sure we're getting you the right size system. You know, if someone has single pane aluminum windows that are super drafty, well, let's have a conversation about maybe get the biggest system. We wouldn't ask all the questions that we ask to make sure we're getting you the right size system. You know, if someone has single pane aluminum windows that are super drafty, well, let's have a conversation about maybe getting a dual pane retrofit window in there with low E glass and argon, or you know, what are the glass options that could help tighten up your home? We really want to think of your home as an ice chest, and we want to tighten up the sides and we want to tighten up the top, so that it'll hold the cool or it'll hold the heat depending on the time of year. And then we figure out how much solar is it going to take once your home is really efficient. It comes down to pool pumps. So we're kind of looking at everything that's big and that eats energy, because a $1,400 pool pump that can, you know, knock your bill down by $70 a month pays for itself in a year and a half. It's a no-brainer. We can do that for you along with your solar system, and all of a sudden you've shaved $3,500 off your solar price, spent $1,400 on a pool pump. When it's all said and done, you've saved a couple grand, I should say, you haven't invested that extra couple $1,000s on the front end, but you've gotten the same net result, which means your money comes back to you, home to you faster.
Right, right. So, what do you
Well, I think
see?
we really got to get going.
What do you see happening in the short near future with solar? I mean,
And then we can even get it in, I believe, through the end of next year at its current state, which is 30% of your net investment. If you invested $25,000, you're talking about a $7,500 tax benefit that's just hanging out there for you. So just to use nice, fun, round numbers. So if you're tired of giving your money to Uncle Sam and to PG&E, 2 birds, 1 stone, give us a call, hit the showroom. We'll show you what you can do. We'll tell you what's possible, what's practical, and then we'll give you your options for doing the things that are practical. Make sure we create a good plan for you and your family so you get the right system with the right finance options for your home.
Okay, that's great. And it's a trusting family.
Yeah.
I know they'll get after each other.
Yeah.
We're a Fresno-based company with a showroom in Clovis, and if we're hiding from anybody, we're doing a really bad job because we're right there on the internet. You can find us and leave us a review, and we're on the corner of Bullard Minnewawa with a big old sign on the building, just begging folks to come on in and have a real conversation about their energy needs and really what are their goals going forward.
Yeah. And understanding really what they're getting into, because I know a lot of people don't understand what benefit it is, and it also brings your the value of your home up, doesn't it?
Yeah, I mean you'd have to get it straight from an appraiser, but houses typically sell an awful lot faster when the solar system that's on the roof versus when you don't have one. They really cuts down the amount of time a house is in are available before going into escrow. There's different financial options that we can basically take a look at that are transferable, and I mean we're experts in not only the field of solar, but also we have amazing finance options, and we know them inside and out. So we want to make sure not only are we getting the best system package for you and your family, but also the best financial package. And there's a bunch. I mean, there's a ton of different ones. We're happy to go over all of the positives and any of the negative impacts of any particular financial product to make sure that the one we're landing in is the right fit, so that not only is the payment comfortable, but the scenario that you're in is comfortable as well.
Well, I've heard people say they've gotten the solar, but that can be sold with the home. It goes the whole as a whole package, right? Okay, so they don't have to be fearful if say they bought solar from you and they're 2 years into it and suddenly they get a promotion in New York, they can sell it, the complete package, correct?
Personally, I wouldn't leave for New York, but
This is your home.
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay, well, I appreciate you guys coming in and taking
Thank
some
you for
time
having
to
us.
share. I know this solar there are a lot of
Yeah.
this and that's about it, and it's better for us
Yeah.
to share with people, what you can or can't do and what they're looking at, and really understand that you have everything there for them at your place, and you can help them from square one to the end.
well, the whole concept of really putting a showroom together is not to say, look at us, we're fancy. We're not a fancy family. What it was is that, after doing this for as long as we have, one of the challenges that we'd face, or one of the pieces of feedback, is folks say, it'd be great if we could, is there one we could go and see? And people always want to go and see and look and feel, how things work. And we have some great small products we can bring into your home, like little samples. There's nothing like walking in and seeing a full-size panel that you can walk up to, put your hands on it, get a description of it, go through, read the key data on it, see it right next to another panel that's a common, lesser efficiency panel that takes up way more space, understand the difference in not only the quality of the product, but also the power per square foot that we can deliver on that smaller rooftop versus, a place that's
And the
less space.
installation process, too.
Yeah.
I was amazed.
Yeah, the rooftop demo, I think, is one of the most powerful things we have in there, where we can actually show folks how we tie into the roof, how everything's flashed, how we make everything so watertight. And not only watertight, because that's the one thing people are going to be freaking out about is, am I going to have a leak? But also how aesthetically clean it is. I mean, to use a product that's just so clean on the install. So at the end, you have people going, wow, who did your solar? That looks nice, versus, whoa, who did your solar?
Yeah, it's pretty amazing how you put that on the roof.
Yeah.
I thought.
So I'd really love for folks to come in down, give us a call. at our showroom.
Yeah.
I think they can get a hold of Carrie at, what, 485-2504?
Yeah, oh, your website? Do you have-
Yep.
EnergyConceptsFresno.com.
Yep.
Yeah, okay. And you have a Facebook?
We do. If you look up Energy Concepts on Facebook, you'll find us there with a lot of our installation photos.
Or look up the Pugh family?
Yeah, you can.
Right?
Yeah.
I can be found on there
Or
every once in a while.
Throw Energy Concepts into
Right?
Google
Yeah.
and see all 60 plus reviews that we've got.
Central California favorite,
Yep.
Pugh family, since 1940 something, right? Or
30s.
Something like
yeah,
that.
somewhere in there.
1930.
Yeah.
That Pat installed back in 1983. So
Wow.
shows we were actually doing solar in
Yeah,
1983.
In 1983.
Not just
I
in
mean,
business, doing
We were
solar.
actually doing it. I mean, it wasn't popular. That's
Exactly.
That's why I said the Obama thing.
30 cents on every dollar you invest into your solar system comes back to you in the form of a tax credit, assuming you have the tax appetite to take that credit. And that's something that you need to talk to your CPA or accountant about.
Oh, okay. And then do you guys get any credits at all for opening these companies? Because we're trying to save energy, right?
Yeah, so there's no government grants for our companies.
Okay.
We go to put solar systems in. This is basic free enterprise. You know, we open the place up and we offer the 30% tax credit, a great installation, and excellent service, and that's what carries you through.
Okay. So you're strictly doing homes and not commercial
We do
companies?
small to medium commercial as well. Yeah.
Oh.
But our focus is better than 90% residential installations.
Okay. So what is your prime candidate for installing these?
If you're a PG&E customer with a $150 a month bill or more, and you've got a roof that isn't covered in shade trees, we need to have a conversation about saving you a lot of money.
Okay. So typically after you put in one of your units, about how much savings would someone see right away?
It really depends on if they're paying cash for their system or if they're financing it. So if they're paying cash, obviously we can wipe out all but about $10 of their bill. There's about $10 worth of meter fees that we just can't get rid of. If you're financing your solar system, it really depends on how aggressive you want to get. I've saved folks upwards of 50% of not the size of the home itself. I've seen great big houses with very small bills. I've seen itty bitty houses with enormous electric bills.
Okay.
So it's all about a custom design and quote for your home.
Oh, okay. So it has more to do with like the windows and how many computers and how many phones and how many lights.
And behavior, how much stuff do you do in your home? How many hours are you home? We can break your energy consumption down to an hour by hour basis, and really talk about time of use, peak day pricing, and all the different options that the utility company has to offer along with solar.
So it sounds like you guys do like an analysis of some sort, like a pie chart or something to
You
show
bet.
people.
If you're just quoting a system based on kilowatt hour consumption and you're not analyzing their actual data, you're not doing anybody any favors.
Okay, good. So you said you've been in business 23 years. So how many offices do you have?
26. This is our 26th year, and we have our warehouse that's over off of Ashland and Valentine area. And then we have our showroom here, which is on the southwest corner of Bullard and Minnewawa. This is where you'd come to meet with our sales staff and our management team. The warehouse is great if you want to see just pallet racks full of solar panels we're getting ready to install.
So how many solar companies are here in Clovis then? A few or just one, two, or?
That's a good question. There's a lot of companies that call themselves local, but there's only a handful that are actually here in town operating.
Okay.
So there's some national companies that have offices here, and then there's a handful of actual local installers.
So you're a local person helping local people save on their utility bills.
And keeping their money local, yes,
Okay.
ma'am.
So kind of walk me through your office a little, if you don't
Come on,
mind.
sure. So basically over here we have a wall of just sample solar panels. Here the one on the left, you can see it's our SunPower all black panel. It's about 350 watts of solar energy per panel. As a direct comparison, the one next to it is only about 265 watts of power. That's what we call a conventional solar panel. That particular panel is made by a company called Canadian. So the panel on the left, you need significantly fewer panels to create the same amount of energy as the panel on the right. And then we can, we can really get into warranty differences with respect to full 25-year warranty versus a 10 to 12 year. Here you see the shorter panel in the middle. You're going to have the SunPower, and that is up to a 370 watt panel, and that is the most efficient solar panel in the world. That is a phenomenal product with a 25-year bumper-to-bumper warranty. Out of comparison, right next to it, this really tall panel that you see is an LG 340. So it eats up significantly more space, but offers significantly fewer watts per panel. That's traditionally a commercial grade solar panel, not common for residential rooftops.
Okay. And I see you have like roofing materials here too.
Yeah, we have our rooftop demo and display. It actually has a couple of the SunPower panels on top of it. What you'll see next to the panel is actually the SunPower microinverter. Each one of these panels has a microinverter on it, so every panel operates independent of its neighboring panels to give you the maximum output and performance available at all times. What we really wanted to show was, how do we plumb this into your roof? So this is a Solidec box, and we just plumb the wiring right into the Solidec box, and then we drop a Romex into the attic, so we keep the aesthetics of your roof really, really nice. You can see up here, the edges of the rails actually are cut flush with the edge of the panels. And that's all part of the SunPower Equinox system. It really helps the panels look like they're hovering on the rooftop. And we also like to be able to show how our flashing systems work. So a lot of folks wonder how we would be treating their home. And this is a Snap and Rack flashed base. That's just a brand. And what we do is we actually lag this base plate in with a lag bolt here, and we would have sealant on it if it were on your rooftop. And then there's a stud that sticks up here, and this slides below 2 courses of the composite roof material. And this dome actually flashes that lag bolt, so there's no way for water intrusion to come in. We also put what's called a horseshoe of a sealant on the bottom side of this. So not only do we seal the base, we flash it twice, but then we also put a sealant on there just as an additional water barrier. So once that's all put in, there's a L-shaped bracket called an L-foot, and that mounts on top of your flashed base, and then it bolts to the edge of the rack here. And this is basically the rack that your solar panels sit on top of on your roof, designed to live for the life expectancy of the solar system, and typical life expectancy is about 40 years on a SunPower system.
Really?
Yep.
40 years? Wow, that's a long time. And then I see you have all these electrical boxes. What is this?
We absolutely do. We've got a Sonnen battery system. Sonnen's a battery manufacturer that produces some really slick stuff. It's the most efficient battery system in the marketplace. They have options all the way up to 16 kilowatts, so you can really afford to do what's called islanding. You can island without the utility for a significant period of time and actually allow your solar panels to charge your battery system. The Sonnen battery is really what we call a technologically agnostic product. It will work with pretty much any system out there. You don't even have to have solar to run a Sonnen battery. There's countries where they have a lot of power outages off in the islands now, where they're dealing with a lot of issues. I believe like in Puerto Rico, a lot of the Sonnen product is being shipped over there just to supplement for all the grid problems they're having.
Wow.
LG makes a very slick battery as well. It's much smaller, but they come in different wattage output options.
Boy, LG has come a long ways. They started with small stuff and now they're all over the place, huh?
Yeah, TVs, cell phones, and you're talking big battery systems. So their battery is compatible with a Solar Edge inverter. It's called their Storage product, and when it's combined with it, it makes it a pretty slick battery option for someone who's wanting to also be able to island without the grid in times of
So do you
power
sell
outage.
these things here? These
We sell all
boxes?
of this. These are all part of a solar installation. These are just optional add-on items.
Okay.
And then we have a couple of other battery options as well. What's really important to a lot of folks is not so much the ability to island, but it's actually the ability to do what's called rate shifting or load shifting. And all the battery options offer that. The in-phase battery and the phaser by JLM, while they don't offer what's called islanding, they do offer the rate shifting option, where you plug in with the phaser unit. You would plug the phaser in between the microinverter and the panel. The panel will charge the phaser battery. This is all done on the roof, so there's nothing on the side of your home. But the panel would charge the phaser battery. The phaser battery would store that energy until the power is needed during peak hours when the pricing is higher, and then it would start discharging into the microinverter, and you'd end up with power offsets.
So it has its own brain.
It's load shifting, yeah. Same thing with the in-phase unit. These are 1.2 kilowatts per, and they're built to be mounted on 16-inch wall centers, so they have a mounting bracket that overlaps, and you can do up to 13 of these in a row. You want to keep them basically inside, like in a garage somewhere.
Wow.
And we put a 20 amp circuit right here in your electrical panel, and you have the ability to store about 15 kilowatts of energy that you can use during the peak demand hours.
Wow.
The in-phase battery system is also technologically agnostic. We can use this on any home that has AC power, which is all of them. We plug it in, and the only thing we have to do is install the in-phase control box that has all of the rate software loaded.